back. Welcome back to balance class. Previous episode we talked about the sense of balance and how things work. Just a quick review. Vision, sense of touch, particularly through the feet, and the inner ear. So 2 eyes, 2 feet, 2 inner ears. They better play nice together so that the brain can get all the correct information and send out the proper signals so that we can react properly and hopefully stay up off the floor. Couple other things I want you to know is that the definition of a fall is any uncontrolled descent, which means if I go to get up from this chair and I do that, I fall backwards, that's still a fall. Didn't hit the ground, didn't get hurt, still a fall. If I go to walk around this table and I do that, that's a fall. Just so happened that the table held me up. So if you start to see that those things are happening in your life, then it should be a red flag that it's time to maybe figure out, talk to your doctor, get some therapy, take some things into your under your own control to get things better. And that's why you're here. So really excited about that. We certainly reviewed how you can have all the muscles in the world and still be unsteady because it is a sense of balance, which leads me into my first topic of today, which is how to quiet your sensory environment. For those of us that have inner ear problems in particular, so if you're a vertigo patient or you feel dizzy, you feel disoriented a lot and just a little unnerved in your environment, it's really important that you understand the concepts of how to quiet your sensory environment, because balance is a sense, as we talked about. And so you may find that if you are in a busy area, that you may feel less steady. Why? Because all of that sensory information, all of those people, or even if you're in the grocery store, there's something very real, grocery store syndrome. Even if no one is in that grocery store aisle, you can feel less steady, a little bit more disoriented, purely because of all the visual information in that aisle. One long corridor, okay, of marketing. Every single label and every single product on those shelves is trying to get your attention, and visually that can be too much. Add on to that you're walking, you're looking for something on the shelves. Where's the ketchup? You're looking here. Someone walks down the aisle, you'll have to navigate around them. All of that stimulates your balance and requires your balance to have to work a little harder, so you may feel less steady. Obviously, people have a cart most of the time, which helps with that. And we'll talk about why. So much to tell you. So excited. We're going to kind of look at how quieting your sensory environment is important in different scenarios. And we're going to talk a little bit about vision and how you can compensate, because all of that visual information is difficult for your body to process sometimes, particularly if there's a balance problem. So one of the best things that you can do is focus at eye level. If you think of a dancer, they're always spotting. They're looking at a point, they're turning around, they come back to that point. How in the world does a ballerina, for example, spin round and round all those times and not lose their balance? Well, one of the things, of course, they exercise their system, and I certainly contend that balance can be improved through proper exercise. But one of the other things they do is they compensate. They pick a point, they focus on it, they spin around, they keep their eyes on that point as long as possible. They spin around, they go back to that point, and they're always focusing. Just like seasick sailors, they pick a point to focus on the horizon. That's what you're told to do because it works. You use your visual system to your advantage to ignore the movement of the boat as best as possible. If you are in a crowded environment, church, I hear all the time, just all those little heads in the pews, okay? All of that can be visually challenging. When you're sitting, we do have sitting balance. A lot of us take that for granted. But if you've had a stroke or if you've had a spinal cord injury, you may not take that for granted. You may need to prop yourself up because you don't have your sitting balance. Standing becomes more challenging. Walking becomes more challenging still. So, talk a little bit more about walking. You picture a tightrope walker. You're walking on that tightrope, right? Something that hopefully we don't have to use this type of foot placement very often. But they're walking on that tightrope, they're looking up at eye level. I am very sure that if you're watching a tightrope walker and that tightrope walker looks down, we're all going to gasp because we know they're going to fall. Why? Because our inner ear works better at eye level. And so having something to focus on helps our visual system. Keeping our head up helps our inner ear system. And that is, in my opinion, one of the best ways that you can control your balance. Focus at eye level, keep your head up. Yes, you need to glance down and make sure nothing's in front of you, but then you must glance back up. And I encourage people, just like with driving, look off in the horizon, scanning as you need to, coming back to a focal point as much as possible. Okay, look down, make sure there's nothing in your way, look for people in your periphery, and then come back to the focal point. Just like when I was driving and I would look at the hood ornament of the car when I first started to drive, and my father would say, no, you have to scan your environment, it's safer that way. Same concepts. If you find that going to a restaurant makes you feel unnerved, okay, consider the visual environment. If there's a small mom and pop restaurant that you can go to on off hours, we know that it's not going to be as busy, so most of us think that's going to be a little safer. But there's some science behind that. All that busyness of if you think of a big chain restaurant on a Friday night, the ones that have country line dancing in the aisles, they're fun, but it's a lot of sensory information. Those places that have all sorts of decorations on the walls and cars hanging from the ceiling, they're fun, but they're definitely a lot of sensory information that can make it harder for you if you have a sense of balance issue, okay? So try those smaller, less visually stimulating places, go on off hours, and instead of facing the dining room, move your chair or pick the chair that faces the wall so that you are in control of what you are looking at. Great way to quiet your sensory environment. When you are making turns can be particularly challenging for balance. So walking around this round table, if you're feeling really, really unnerved, picking something to focus on, and as you walk, turn your head and pick something else to focus on before you move your feet. Okay? Head turn, move your feet. Head turn, make sure you're okay, then move your feet. Okay? Head turn, then move your feet. Rather than one big movement. Okay? Speed of movement is important, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the inner ear. It's a very complex system. I am really trying to make it simple for you to understand, some simple things you can put into your life. And I hope that you do find this information valuable. Look forward to talking to you next time when we talk more about the second sense of balance, which will be the sense of touch, particularly through your feet. Until then, have a beautiful day. Stay safe.